Hey guys, welcome back. This is Jake and Nadia back after a week off. We are at our new place, therefore the new setup. And guess what? We're finally not on the floor anymore.
I'm against it completely. This is a one-time thing. So yeah, we're in Seattle now.
We're in Seattle now. We're in away from the sunny city of Los Angeles and into the rainy Seattle. But the weather is really nice. Actually, it's been really great.
We drove 23 hours straight.
Such an exhausting drive.
But we're not here to talk about ourselves.
Oh no, we're here to talk about
Happy Death Day!
And Happy Death Day to you.
To you.
To you. I really love this movie.
Yeah, me
and
too.
I really want to talk about this movie. So
yeah, I feel like not a lot. I don't know. I haven't seen many people talk about it. I'm really happy we decided to watch it because it surprised both of us at how funny and interesting they were, both of them.
Honestly, so surprised at how good it was, because at first I was like, oh, this kind of doesn't look, it looks fine, but it was incredibly well done. We're going to talk about the first movie and the second movie.
And I know they were like popular when they came out, but for some reason I missed them. And it didn't seem like people were praising them for their quality. It just seemed like they were just another Blumhouse like movie, and I ignored them. But now watching them, I'm like, they were really fun.
Like always, let's start with non-spoiler, which I think in this case will be pretty short. We'll just talk about like overall what we liked, what we didn't like for both the movies, and then we'll move into the spoiler section where we're going to talk about spoilers.
Sound like Oprah. Happy Death Day is very much like Groundhog Day. It's kind of modeled after that. Basically, Groundhog Day, but it's a horror movie. So very like blunt and bold and very like a fun kind of premise. Like you hear that and you're like, oh, sounds like a fun movie. And it's executed very well. The second movie takes a wildly different turn.
Hey, you haven't returned anymore. You are gay!
Really surprised us in how it really was just trying to like challenge the first movie and expand on it in weird ways. It was more of a sci-fi movie than a horror movie. And I think the one they reference is like Back to the Future Part 2 for the sequel. So very interesting movies to reference, but I thought that they worked together very well, just kind of this genre mashing. After watching both of them back to back, we had a really hard time remembering what was from the first movie or the second movie.
So tell me what you liked and you didn't like.
What I liked was that it had a great pace. It was funny, and the horror mixed well with the comedy. I will say it was not very scary, especially the second one, which was more of a sci-fi comedy. The first one had some scares, but it was more about the premise. It was more about the characters. And actually, the best part of the movie is the character of both movies, are the characters and the relationships. Tree, the main character, she is very endearing. She is kind of a sort of stuck up sorority girl, very caught up in her own world and kind of looks down on others a bit. And the movie's about kind of humbling her, sort of like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. So it's a similar character arc. She has to discover who her killer is. She keeps waking up every day, gets murdered in unique ways, increasingly unique ways, and she has to discover who her killer is. In the meantime, she befriends people who are more like the nerds at her college, learns some valuable lessons about other people. She's not a great person, you know. She's sleeping with her professor, who is cheating on his wife. Yeah. And she sparks a relationship with this guy who kind of has a crush on her and is very nice to her, who she couldn't give a crap about at the beginning of the movie. And by the end, they have a good romance going. It's very fun, creative deaths, and it's a kind of a whodunit. She has to figure out who the killer is. Every day, she just has to keep dying over and over to figure out, kind of limit the list down of who the killer is. So that's the first movie, and that's basically, the first movie. The second movie is very different, but we'd have to get into spoilers to talk about that because the killer...
You kind of already got into spoiler, didn't you?
Well, not really. I just talked about the premise of the movie. But I will say, that's what I liked. I feel like the downsides of the movie is like, yeah, there's not a ton of great scares. I feel like the second one, a lot of people maybe won't like because it gets very convoluted and there's kind of a level of believability you have to throw out the window and kind of go, okay, well, this is just how they're able to get into this situation and play out this story that they want to tell. You kind of have to accept the stupid science stuff as just like, oh, this is just sci-fi fantasy. You just kind of have to go with that these college kids made some kind of, time warp device and just enjoy it for just kind of a comedy. Although the second one it gets a very heartfelt. There's some good performances and emotional moments. Overall, the absolute best part of these movies is the main character, Jessica Roth, who plays Tree. Best part of these movies, funny, great emotional scenes, and really brought something to the character, and as the star of the movie.
She just gives less and less crap about what happens. So there's one scene where, I don't want to say what happens, but basically she has no boundaries anymore. So she just speaks her mind. She does what she wants. And it's just very funny to see in the first and the second movie, the way that she kills herself or the way that she dies,
Well, I think that's what's great. I mean, the Groundhog Day premise is already so fun when you see it in TV shows, and just the original movie itself is so good, so that you can't really screw up the premise. It's so fun just seeing the character not give a crap more and more and just start doing outlandish stuff and living life to its fullest. So that's always fun. But this, on top of it, it's a whodunit, mystery, trying to solve the killer, and horror movie elements of you're going to die some way, trying to fight back and escape. And so it's a great mash of genre elements that I think is balanced very well.
Yeah, I think so too. What I love about the first and the second film is that they switch it up. Second film picks up right after the first film ends, but it's also not it doesn't start out the way you would typically expect it to start out, meaning it doesn't start out with the main character. It eventually leads to the main character. So there is some little bit more sci-fi going on in the second film. And it also explains why the first film happened the way it did. So it kind of is an extension of the first film, which I feel
they blend together really well. It's very seamless.
Yeah, exactly. And you could watch it right next to each other and not really realize, you'd realize that it's just two different films, but it makes it very, very compatible to watch it right next to each other without some film sequels have a catch-up period of the first film. This one was more so
it's right into it. Also, a lot of horror sequels just typically do the same movie beat for beat over and over again. This sequel felt like we started watching it, and I think a few times throughout the movie, in the first 30 minutes, we were like, okay, so this is going to happen, then this is going to happen. Because we're always guessing what the plot's going to be and how it's going to resolve. So we go, okay, so this is the kind of movie it is. And then 5 minutes later we go, oh, wait. No. It's this kind of movie.
Yeah.
And then, oh, no. This is how it's going to go. And then halfway through, I just kind of gave up. I'm just all right, let's see what happens.
Yeah, it was really interesting. The killers are different from the first film, the second film. So, all right, I want to get to the spoiler section. So,
you are always antsy to get into spoilers.
So, what would you rate it, 1 to 10?
Both movies together?
Both movies together and separately.
7.5.
And separately?
First one is a 7, second one is an 8.
I think the first one is a 7.5 and second one is a 8.5. Getting into realistic ratings.
Yeah, a little more realistic.
In these videos. I'm being weighed down.
Because I think earlier on you would have just said 10 out of 10.
Yeah, then I realized, I guess let me put my critical lens on.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's get to the spoilers. So why don't you take that?
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I feel like I'm always spoiling.
Okay, so I guess we should talk about the whodunit element. So, spoilers for the first movie and then the second movie, because it gets a little twisty and complicated, and I had to do some research to recall and figure out what exactly happens. Not that I forgot what happens, but it's just a little complicated. So at the end, basically there's 2 killers in the first movie, and we figure out there's a few twists near the end. We think we know who the killer is because Tree figures out that there's this serial killer who's in a hospital that gets loose on the night of her murder. And so she thinks, well, this must be the killer. She goes to the hospital, finds out that, yes, he is after her and he does want to kill her. And she almost successfully kills him, but she thinks, well, he killed her love interest. So
this is towards the end
is
after
towards the
multiple
end.
deaths.
Yeah, after many
This is
many
like
deaths.
the last
she's
20,
tried to figure out,
30
but she's
minutes of the
finally
film,
figured
yeah.
out, is this serial killer guy, random person, whatever. And so she's like, okay, this must be the guy. They end up defeating him, killing him, and then at the end of it all, she and her now boyfriend have a 16 candles moment, and they're about to eat the cupcake that Tree's roommate made for her that she has not eaten the whole movie.
Tree's roommate, whom Tree was really horrible to.
Really mean to.
I think it's important to point out that Tree starts out as a very bitchy character, and then she has an arc through all the deaths, and she really discovers that, I wasn't always this bitchy. My mom passed away, then I shut down my emotions, and it's really important for me to let it back in again. And this is how she develops feelings for this guy, whose room she wakes up in through every loop. Not because they had, they slept together, but because she was so drunk and he was a gentleman and he was like taking care of her, not, respecting her boundaries. So she falls in love with him and she realizes that he's actually a good guy and she has to become a good person again in order to be with someone like him. In a way, he makes her better. So when he goes to the hospital, he's at this point, she's told him about the loop and everything else and ends up getting killed. And then she almost kills this killer, and then she is like, no, because the guy that I'm falling in love with is actually going to be dead if I stop this loop now. So I want to die one more time, and then that way I can save the love of my life and at the same time save myself the next time.
Yeah.
And then the next time she actually ends up killing him. And then that's when, as Jake was saying, her and her boyfriend now eat the cupcake, and then she wakes up again in the loop, realizing that the real killer was not that criminal who escaped, but was actually her roommate, and who baked her this cake for her birthday. It had poison in there.
Yeah. And she died in her sleep.
Yep, and she died in her sleep. And then, so she basically kills her roommate. She breaks the loop that way.
She breaks the loop.
Yeah, but what I thought was really good, besides the plot of obviously,
I thought it didn't really matter who the killer was. It had to be someone. It's just for me, the whodunit's about figuring out who it is. It doesn't really matter. Once it's that person.
Well, I really like that actually that they had two killers. One as a masked killer who wasn't actually going to be the real killer. The first.
That's first off. That's one of the biggest stretches of believability is that there happened to be the serial killer.
The roommate works at the hospital where the killer is admitted, and so she breaks the killer's chains loose, and she dresses up as the babyface killer and kills Tree the first time because so that and hoping that everyone will think that it's actually the convict who actually.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the part. It's
it's really stretched apart.
Well, no, it's just you stretch the believability of she lets this serial killer go, and he just happens to want to kill Tree.
Okay. Let me get this straight. This is a movie about literally living the same day over and over again, and that is a stretch for you.
Yes.
Got it. Anyway,
I have standards.
Well, what I liked about the film actually was not the plot itself, although I liked actually the twist. I didn't think that was that much of a stretch because when you are talking a little bit more sci-fi-ish, you're kind of already stretching the truth. The thing that I liked is how funny it was every time she died. So, there's one scene where she walks around naked on campus because she really doesn't give a crap anymore. She farts with this, love interest that she has at first, who later becomes her ultimate guy, and she just doesn't care at all. And I just love the humor.
Yeah, and just making fun of just the college world.
Film.
So let's talk about the second movie. Do you want to?
No, you.
Why don't you?
No, you.
No, why don't
go
you?
Ahead.
No,
go ahead.
no,
No, you go ahead.
Here we go.
Okay.
So the second movie. No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay,
so the second film. Okay, I'll say half of it. You say half of it.
All right.
I'm just.
So
This.
it's been a long week.
It's been a long week. I'm a little loopy. So in the second film, Carter, who is Tree's boyfriend, they wake up right after the first film ends, in a day after she was supposed to get killed.
To me, this is like this is like setting up the story, basically. Like, if you didn't see the first one, here's a bit of a recap in a way. Like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're doing a story where people have to wake up every day and like solve who the killer is. But we think the movie's starting out with Ryan as our new protagonist, who was in the earlier movie, but he had just had a bit part. But now it's the second day, and it would make sense. Happy Death Day to You. It's the day after the first movie, except it's a new character going through the loop. So he talks to Tree, and Tree's like, hey, I know exactly what you're going through. Let's figure this out. And we think, oh, this is great. He has someone to guide him through it. So they go to a basketball event at their school and try to figure out who the killer is. They do fight the killer. There's like a horror sequence, and find out that the killer is in fact Ryan himself. So Ryan, other self, from a parallel dimension, now we're getting into like Rick and Morty territory.
Yeah, very Rick and Morty.
Is trying to kill him because it's created like some kind of butterfly effect or God knows what. This is the part in the movie when I was like, this is getting a little weird to me. And like, where are they going with this? And then what happens is the principal or whatever, head of the science department, is trying to shut down their project because it's causing all these rolling blackouts at the school or in the city. And basically, all this is happening. There's two Ryans. They're trying to shut down the machine, but they're also trying to ignite it so that it can reset, and then it explodes. And they're all flown back, and it's this funny, dramatic scene. Tree wakes up in the day before, exact same situation, almost as the first movie, except we're in a parallel dimension. Things are slightly off. So instead of living through the same day over and over, like in the first movie, it's the same day over and over, but she's in some parallel version of her life. And in this parallel version, her boyfriend is actually dating her like nemesis, the mean sorority girl. And her mother is alive, which causes some very, difficult situations. Her goal in this world is now to get back to her own dimension. And she thinks she can do this if they can like use the machine in a certain way, blah, blah, blah. Basically, they have to do some science stuff to figure out how to fix the parallel dimensions and get her back into her timeline. But at the same time, she has to figure out, of course, who is trying to kill her in this universe, which it's somebody new, and all the relationships are slightly different in this universe. So it's like the whodunit situation again, but with the same characters, essentially. She ends up having the same kind of relationship with her boyfriend, who's not her boyfriend in this universe. They end up making it work out, but it becomes difficult for her because her mother's alive in this universe. So she kind of, once they figure out how to make the machine work, she's hesitant about letting it happen because she doesn't think she wants to go back to her old universe. So there's like a conflict there, but she decides to, yes, go back to her original universe.
That basically sums it up. What I loved about the second film was basically like the same thing that I liked about the first film, which was the funniness about how she dies. Like there's one time when she skydives, and she skydives right on top of Carter and his, her nemesis sorority girl, like kissing.
Yeah.
And so she just like gets herself chopped off in this machine, and
it was funny. It was very creative. They have to up the antics.
Yeah, the killer ended up being her professor.
Yeah.
Who she dated in the first film, and who's the reason why her roommate wanted to kill her in the first film. In the second film, Professor and Professor's wife tried to kill her roommate, who's now good in the second film, who was bad in the first film, because in the second film, Tree's mom didn't pass away. So
it's all very messy. It gets a bit messy.
It gets a little bit messy.
You kind of have to just go with it and go, okay, this is what's happening. They have to do the science stuff to fix the world. It just becomes like a kind of a goofy sci-fi comedy with some horror elements, very little bit. It's less about the tension than it is just about the funny antics going on and the like emotional scenes, like we were talking about. I
did say that with the tension and the antics, what I really loved is Tree and her mom's special moment before Tree accepts that she needs to go back to her own timeline. This is not her timeline. And I thought their acting was really well done. Like, it was very emotional. She ended up seeing everything that she wanted to say, and they blow out the candle for her birthday together. And I thought that was the perfect goodbye. The tree that we don't see, who probably is in the original first tree's dimension.
Who knows what happened here? Yeah.
Anyway, like the tree and Carter in the second parallel universe, they kind of kiss, and then they kind of have a little romance going on. He's the reason why Tree goes back in the first parallel universe, because she chooses her love for him over her
her mom. Sorry, mom, I have a boyfriend now.
Sorry, mom, but this is the way.
Priorities here.
Priorities, I mean, yeah.
It works in the movie because she realizes, like, oh, she's living someone else's life.
Exactly. She realizes that this is not really, like, she doesn't have the same memories when her mom talks about, remember the time when we went here? She's like, no, I don't. She doesn't say that, but she obviously, you can tell that this is how she feels, because this is not the same Tree. Her mom in her original timeline died a while ago, so she doesn't have these memories that have been formed since then with the Tree that's supposed to be in her timeline. So in a way, she's living in someone else's reality that it's not even hers anymore. In a way, this is not even her mom, because her mom has made more of a bond with the Tree in the timeline that she kind of stole. She doesn't have the same connection with this mother as she did with her original dead mother. But yeah, like, I really liked it. I think the overall message of the movie is literally how one event can change a person and how fluid a person's personality is.
I would absolutely recommend it. There's some flaws in the logic, but that's one of the things I care least about when I watch a movie. Yeah, it's just a great time. Like,
Just
check it
watch
out
it.
if you like it.
This was a movie recommended by one of the commenters, so thank you for recommending it a while
was
ago.
it?
A while
Nice.
ago, yeah.
Thank you, commenter.
And then we're going to continue to watch films that you guys are recommending, so please continue to comment some more recommendations and tell me what you would like to see next.
We're running out of episodes of Barry to watch. Get us a new show or a new...
Still haven't mounted our TV. We're like literally
Get us a
behind.
new show to watch or something, because get us
Get us a new show to watch while you get us a movie to watch, so that we can talk about the movie while we finish the show.
I just graduated, so I'm just going to be watching TV all day.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, thank you so much again for supporting us. I actually really missed filming this video, even though we were just out for 1 week.
We will have these conversations regardless after we watch everything,
Yeah, so it's really nice.
So might as well record it and force other people to watch it.
All right, thank you guys so much, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see you
See you
next time.
Bye.
Bye.